Welcome. We bid you welcome. John Clauser, Johnny Metal, the Metal Dad, coming to you from my music corner of the world. And today, episode 22 of the Year of the Priest, baby. We are going to be talking. We're going to give them a little bit more in-depth look of Invincible Shield, the recent album that came out March 6th, 2024. But before I get ahead of myself, my faithful co-captain, John the Music Nut first. How you doing, my friend?
As God is my witness, I'm sure there'll be hell to pay. How are you guys? Welcome, Davey.
And then, of course, from Cretan Classics, Davey Cretan. Welcome to my music corner. This is the first time on the channel, if my memory serves me correctly. So welcome into my little mess of a corner I call here. So
thanks for having me, guys.
This is going to be a blast. We are really looking forward to this. I'm going to preface this right now. Davey has done a review on his channel that you will be able to find in the description on this video. So you'll be able to link to it and you'll be able to check it out and give his channel some love, for crying out loud. Okay, so let's do that. So before we get into Davey's point of entry with this, let's just talk a little stuff here about Invincible Shield so far. So as I referenced, March 6th, 2024, this has been released out into the world. They were previewing some songs as early as October of 2023. First one being Panic Attack. In November, they brought out Trial of Fire. January, Crown of Horns. And then in February, Serpent and the King. So they're releasing a few tracks prior to it all. The proper album, having just 11 songs, clocks in 52 minutes and 36 seconds. If you get the deluxe version that we were all, some of us were hoisting up here, clocks in at an extra 11 minutes at 63:48 with 3 extra songs. So recorded in various places. You had Richie and Scott doing their parts in Nashville, where they both reside. Rob doing his vocals in Phoenix. Ian recording while on tour in various European cities. So makes you wonder where Glenn did his stuff, because they don't mention anything about Glenn's recording, but he does do a couple solos. So he does have a little bit of involvement on this. Let's see. How has this charted so far? Let's see. Trying to get to my notes here. Oh, good Lord Almighty. Look at all these charts. They're getting longer and longer every time I get into this. Okay. Australian, down in Peter Kerr's and Bicycle Legs' neck of the woods. Number 16. Austria peaked at number 1. Belgian, the 2 different charts. I still have yet to get anybody from Belgium to tell me about these 2 different charts. Come on, guys. Number 3 and number 5. Canadian, up in Metal Roger and Mike Ladano's neck of the woods, number 16, as well as Tim Derling and Jax Russell and a few other folks that I know up in that. And Darcy Six Strings Nine Lives, I want to give him a little shout out too, just for the heck of it. Croatia peaked at number 1. Czech, number 6. Danish, number 15. Dutch, number 5. Finnish, number 1, peaked at number 1. French, number 5. Greek, number 2. German, number 1. Hungarian, number 8. Irish charts, number 18. Italian charts, number 8. Japanese, there's 3 different ones. 7, and digital albums, number 6, and hot albums, number 6. Again, all these different charts, crazy. Steve Deluxe's neck of the woods in New Zealand peaked at 25. Down at Ovi Rendum and my good buddy Paul's neck of the woods in Norway peaks at 14. Polish charts peaked at 2. Portuguese, number 8. Scottish charts, number 1. Spanish charts, numero 3. Swedish charts, number 1. Swiss charts, number 1. UK albums, number 2. UK rock and metal albums, number 1. Billboard charts, number 18. Top hard rock albums for US, number 1. Top rock albums, number 4. Good Lord, that's a lot of... I'm glad I won't have to do that for a little while. Yeah, I think I might need a little drink. Water, so, yes, everybody needs a little bit of water after that one. But although today I'm drinking Coca-Cola spiced, so no water for me. But anyway, So, as with all of our guests that we have had on these various shows, Davey, what was your point of entry into Judas Priest?
My point of entry was the first album I got was Screaming for Vengeance. And I remember getting it through one of the record clubs. And
Me
at the
too.
time, I was buying some Ozzy solo stuff, some Sabbath stuff with Dio, maybe the first Dio album. So it was the early 80s, 82, 83. And then from then on, I got Defenders of the Faith and Turbo and every album from then on. Plus, when I worked in the record stores, I would hear the stuff. So I've heard every album, just not every album has connected with me. So Screaming was my point of entry.
Okay. All right. How many times have you had a chance to see them in concert?
I think about 3 or 4 times. It was all on the Painkiller tour.
Ooh, okay.
And I did see that show that toured the US, Operation Rock and Roll, with the 5 bands. It was Priest headlining, Motorhead, Alice Cooper, Dangerous Toys, who I know you've done some shows on, and Metal Church. That was the 5th band.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Nice.
And I remember I went to Jersey in the indoor, some big arena in New Jersey at the time. So this was 91 or so. And I got backstage at that show. I don't think I met Priest at that show. I met them at a different show at the Nassau Coliseum. I'll get to that in a second. But I did meet Lemmy from Motorhead backstage. I met Alice Cooper, who was a very cool guy. And it was in a rainstorm. So I got to the show really late. And I missed all of Motorhead's set except for Ace of Spades. So I only saw them do the last song. And then Priest came on after them.
Nice.
So I missed all the opening bands because it took a couple of hours to drive to Jersey in the rain when I got off of work, unfortunately. And then I met the band in backstage at the Nassau Coliseum a couple of times. I got backstage passes because I had good connections at Sony at the time. A cool guy named Brian got me backstage. And I met Halford and KK, and I met the guys. And Halford's handshake, it was hard as iron. He had such a grip. And he had the leather gloves on, like the little half leather gloves up to parts of his fingers. And I couldn't believe that handshake, hard as iron, just like the Priest saw. The guy had such a grip. And KK, he remembered me, meeting me before, because I had these little opera glasses I used to hang around my neck. And then during the show, like little binoculars that I had gotten from my grandmother, I would watch the show if I was far away, just to see the band better than the screens. And a lot of bands didn't have screens 30 plus years ago. So KK's like, I remember you with the glasses there, with the binoculars. So
That's cool.
That was pretty cool. And Glenn
cool.
was nice too. So I met the 3 of them. I don't think Ian and Scott were there at the time, but I met the guys. They were really nice guys, you know, no attitude, just down to earth, just meeting the fans, pressing the flesh. So it's a good backstage story.
Cool.
So I think I saw them 3 or maybe 4 times in total during the different legs of the Painkiller tour, because they toured that album for a while.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's always good to hear good stories, backstage stories like that, because that's one thing we hadn't heard a whole lot of, because except I think Joe B got backstage, but he didn't get to meet anybody. But that's one thing we didn't get, was any backstage meeting stories. So yeah, that's awesome, dude. So all right, well, the floor is yours for Invincible Shield. I will let you have at it. Let's get into this.
I think that Priest did something different. Usually most bands or artists or bands release maybe a track or 2 pre-release, but these guys released 4 tracks. So as the tracks came out, I was listening to them and I liked all of the advanced tracks. And I know, unlike a lot of people, I really like Crown of Horns. I like the melodic side of Priest that gives something different, because everyone knows Priest is heavy metal. They have a song called Heavy Metal on Ram It Down, which also has the song Hard as Iron that I referenced before, to all you Priest heads out there. And I just like the melodic side because it adds a different flavor. It's not just all pummeling heavy riffs all the time. So I like when they go the melodic way, even some of the stuff on Turbo. I'm a big fan of melody, so I enjoyed this album. With this album, what really strikes me are the vocals, Halford's vocals. The guitar riffs are great. The solos are amazing. I like the drums. They're a little different than past albums. I think Scott Travis puts in a really good performance here, and I really enjoyed the songs here. And I think that probably with, unfortunately, what Glenn Tipton's going through, He probably helped co-write the lyrics, arrange the songs, maybe write the riffs, and sort of maybe possibly explain them and have them done and said, well, maybe you should play it like this, play it like that. And I think maybe he guides Richie Faulkner through what to do, through what he hears, but maybe he possibly can't play. I mean, he did 2 solos on the album. He did the guitar solos, Tipton, that is. Tipton did the solos on Sons of Thunder and Vicious Circle. So he actually did 2 solos. So he probably could play rhythm, and maybe he's playing the rhythms underneath Richie Faulkner's solos and leads throughout the album. So I just think they found a way to work really well together. And I like the Firepower album a lot. I thought that was a very good record. I think this surpasses it, just personally. And then what's the first album with Faulkner? It just flew right out of my head.
Redeemer.
Redeemer of Souls.
Thank you, Redeemer of Souls. That was good, but I think they've been getting better with each consecutive album. They find a way to work together. And even though they're in separate spots because they live in different parts of the globe, on the globe, as you said, and just because of COVID, this album was delayed because of COVID. That's one reason it took 6 years to come out. They were all in different spots and they had to work like through Zoom, like we are right now. But I really enjoy the record. I don't really think there's a bad song on it, and the bonus tracks are good too. The way it starts off, Panic Attack starts the album, it's reminiscent of course, Turbo, with that guitar synth type sound. And there's some kind of either treatment on the drums, or maybe he's playing some electronic drums, and it's just a swirl of noise. And you hear melodies and different things flying in and out, especially if you're listening in headphones or earbuds. And it's a good way to start the album. And it also, I heard someone recently say that it's reminiscent also when Iron Maiden used guitar synths on Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. It doesn't come from me. Someone else pointed it out. And I said, oh, that's right. It does recall that a little too.
I could
But then
see
when
that.
when that riff kicks in for Panic Attack, that is just a great opening riff. And then you know, okay, Priest is back and they're rocking. And I just love the heaviness of the first song. And the way Halford sings for a guy in his early 70s, I mean, I doubt they're using AI. They're probably using reverb and echo and some studio tricks. And he probably does multiple takes until he gets it right the way he likes it. But I mean, for the guy to sing like that at that age is amazing. And I have total respect for Rob Halford, one of the greats. He's up there with Dio and Bruce Dickinson. It's probably my 3 favorite heavy metal vocalists of all time. Then The Serpent and the King kicks in. And that's just those monster riffs and that great guitar work from Faulkner and probably Tipton, guiding him along, probably playing rhythms. It's the way I'd like to think of it, is that he's still in there and he's still a vital part of the band. And I love the way Rob hits that note in the word doom in this song. And just the solos on this album, just constantly, every song, the riffs, the solos. It's a guitar heavy album. It's Priest, it's metal. And the title track kicks in, which is the longest song. I think it's about 6 minutes or so. Let me check my notes. It's over 6 minutes, 6:21. So that's a great song. And then Devil in Disguise. And the way, I know we're going to talk about the lyrics later, but the way I see these lyrics, I mean, I've heard people say this is a religious album. But the way I think about it, I think a lot of these lyrics are political lyrics. And it's Rob probably commenting. He lives in Arizona, like you said. He lives there. He's in America. So he's probably commenting on American politics and definitely on British politics, is the way I look at a lot of these lyrics. Not every song. It's not a concept record. I'd say it's more thematically about politics. But most, a lot of people don't care about the lyrics. They just want to hear the music. And the music on this album is just great. And I think that Scott Travis, he's upped his game, and he's not just always doing the double bass. He mixes it up a lot, which is really good. Gates of Hell, just the opening riffs and the drums, great song, more tasty soloing by Richie. And then you get to Crown of Horns, which probably is just about the highlight here for me. It's so melodic. I just love it. It's melodic, it's catchy. And if rock radio still played classic bands, you'd probably hear that on the radio, like they used to play certain melodic Priest songs back in the mid 80s. From Defenders of the Faith, you would hear, not When the Night Comes Down. Oh, Some Heads Are Gonna Roll. That's the one I was thinking of. You hear that on the radio back in 1984, 40 years ago, but they don't play Priest on the radio anymore unless it's a metal show. But I think Crown of Thorns would definitely get airplay. And then you got As God Is My Witness. It's just a very heavy song. Trial by Fire is very catchy. And I love the way that Rob, goes up, Trial by Fire, the way he hits the notes there. It's great. Sounds amazing for a man of his age. Escape from Reality is really good. And the more I hear the album, the more I like the song, Escape from Reality. And then you get Sons of Thunder. And I know some people aren't too happy with that song, but I like the little call and response vocal they do, where it's Halford with Halford, obviously. He's the only singer. Sons of Thunder, and it's Sons of Thunder. I like that part. I always sing along with that. It's very catchy. And of course, here Tipton does the solo. So I tip my hat to Mr. Tipton for doing the solo here. And the album ends in great fashion. Giants in the Sky, which is a tribute to all of Rob's fallen friends, including Lemmy from Motorhead. A lot of other people, probably Dio, and more people than we could list here. Just ends the album really well. And I love that breakdown, that Spanish guitar type solo, the acoustic work that Faulkner does there is really good. And it just makes the album more diverse. So it adds a lot of flavor. That's the thing about this record. Not every song is pummeling and heavy. It's got some melodic moments. Then you get the acoustic guitar flourishes there. It adds another dimension, and I just love it. So I like this album. I think it's more diverse than KK's album that he put out late last year from KK's Priest. And then you get the bonus tracks. Fight of Your Life is really good. That's more of a throwback to 80s, 70s, 80s, old school Priest. Vicious Circle is okay. Maybe my least favorite out of the 14 songs. It's not bad. It just never really hit me like the other songs. And then I happen to love The Lodger, written by Bob Halligan Jr. And it's so catchy. And I just walk around the house all the time just singing the chorus. And it's a revenge song, and I like the lyrics. So it's not political. It's not religious. It's written by Bob Halligan. It's from an outside source. And he, of course, years ago wrote Some Heads Are Gonna Roll that I mentioned. And I think he wrote Take These Chains, was it? From
Correct.
Screaming. Yes.
Correct.
Thank you. So I think this is a really good album. It's high energy. The production work by Andy Sneap, of course, their touring guitarist for a number of years now, taking over for Tipton, who just comes on stage occasionally for the encores. I think the production work is good. It's crisp. It's clean. You can hear every instrument. And I do want to add Ian Hill. I hear him in spots on the bass. His Spectre bass playing is coming through, and it's nice to hear him again on the record.
Yeah.
So I think this is a great album, and Firepower was really good, and I think this just surpasses it. So I really enjoy it.
Okay.
Should I rate it now or at the end of the show?
Go ahead and give the rating.
Okay, I'd give it it's more than a 9, but it's not quite. I'd say 9.25, between 9 and 9.5. The more I hear it, and I've heard it over a dozen times, it grows on me.
Yeah.
So I'd say eventually, a couple of weeks, months down the road, it'll be a 9.5. This is just top tier Priest to me.
Okay.
And I love it.
All right. Fair enough. All right. John, the floor is yours, my friend. Thank you, Davey, by the way.
Thank you, Davey.
Thanks.
Got it. So we did a first impressions show about this album when it came out. Excuse me. I know I'm going to repeat a lot of the same things, even though I didn't go back and watch that show. And I purposely didn't, so I wouldn't repeat them. But when I'm thinking about some of the things I said then, I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to have to say it again. But, it's just how the album speaks to me. First two songs, I think, are very Painkiller-esque in their construction, okay, because of Rob's high vocals, especially in Serpent and the King. And the delivery and the musical passages are very Painkiller-esque. But the opening track, Panic Attack, I think we got this circular riff rising from the ashes, which I talked about on other shows. I talked about that about Dragonauts. I talked about that with Judas Rising. It's this riff coming up from the ashes, and it's just getting louder and louder, and then it takes you in there. Rob's vocal kicks in, and that's how the album starts out. Rob screams on the bridge are killer. Like I was saying about firepower, the craftsmanship's really coming back. The bridges are coming back here. The bridges on this album are, again, very strong. I'm not tip-top Priest, but pretty close. We do have the riff after the bridge that sounds very Tom Sawyer-esque from Rush, which a lot of people have said. I really can't get past that, but it is there. And it does pick up in momentum at the end, which is really cool. As Davey pointed out, Scott's drumming really works on this album. I mean, he's not overplaying like he has on some other albums in the past. I thought he overplayed a little bit on Redeemer, for example. But here he's putting in that double bass when it's most effective. He's not just bludgeoning you with it despite whatever the pace of the song is. Serpent and the King, as I mentioned, it does sound very Painkiller-esque, but the delivery here is killer. It just grabs you by the throat. And when I was reviewing this album a couple months ago, I was saying, oh, is Robert to keep singing like this the rest of the album? He does not. Invincible Shield takes you on a ride. It's very relentless, but it's melodic. The chorus is killer on here. Some of the movements, sometimes they stop on a dime before they kick right back in. This is very good. I like this more and more as the album goes on. I think the middle of this album is excellent. Devil in Disguise. Those chords in the chorus really swing. The pre-chorus is excellent. It's melodic, yet it's menacing. I love the riffs on here. The only thing about this, the bridge is really good, but I wouldn't have repeated the Devil in Disguise part in a lower voice again before the solo kicks in. I would have kept that part out. I think that just stops it from being a great song, in my opinion, even though I do like it quite a bit. Gates of Hell, I know I said this last time, a glorious song about hell, because it sounds joyous, and we're talking about the gates of hell, and it's catchy. I know I say this a lot. I'd love to hear this live. They haven't done this on the tour yet, but it's something you could sing along to, and it's a song about hell, but it is really cool. Now, Crown of Horns, when I'm with Davey, my favorite song on the album. When we talked about this when it came out, I said, when I hear this song, I see a crowd going like this. And I got to see them on April 21st. And Richie Faulkner starts doing this after he plays that opening solo that starts the song out. I love mid-tempo Priest. I love melodic Priest. This is an excellent track. Thank you, Davey. They originally didn't start doing this song on the tour. This wasn't on the opening shows. They brought this back in maybe after the fifth or sixth show, they started doing this live. And this went over so well live. And you could see why. This is a very melodic song, excellent chorus. The solos are great. It's got an old school fade outs like you heard on all those great 70s and 80s albums, regardless of genre. This is excellent. Is God's My Witness, what I quoted early on when John introduced me. This, I know I said this before too. It reminds me a lot of Leather Rebel from Painkiller, but it's very good. When Rob sings here, he's singing with the rhythm like Ozzy used to do in Sabbath. Instead of singing over the rhythm, he's singing with the rhythm. So I picked that up pretty quick. But again, excellent pre-chorus on here. Chorus is very memorable. Trial by Fire. When I hear the beginning of this, I think to myself, I wonder if they were thinking about opening the album with this song, because it starts similar. Again, the circular riff coming from the ashes. And then, but it's more of a clunkier rhythm, I think, but it's still a cool tune. The verses are okay. Again, it's the bridge stands out on here, We got a great scream from Rob right at the end of that bridge. So this is a good track, not one of my favorites. I mean, tracks 3 through 7, I think, are killers. Escape from Reality. I wasn't a big fan of this when I first heard the album. This is a grower for me. It's this mid-tempo cerebral burner. It's just very good. A good chorus on this. It works very well. Sons of Thunder. I like Sons of Thunder. It just comes in, kicks your ass for 3 minutes, and it gets out. Yes, there is the call and response there with no vocals. We got on the second verse, Rob and Richie are going back and forth, doing a good call and response with the vocal and the guitar as well. Another nice bridge on this. Giants in the Sky. I still can't get past that flamenco part, but I do respect where Rob is going with the lyric in regards to what the song is about. But I think it's a good closer. Joe was saying last week a lot of people are shitting on this song. I wouldn't shit on it. I just don't. It's just that one part doesn't work for me. That's all. Other than that, I think it's a good closer of the proper album. The bonus tracks, which I do not have. I have the regular 11 track version. Fight of Your Life, not to be confused for Fight for Your Life. Grooves a little like late 70s Hell Bent for Leather Priest. I think this is pretty cool. The guitar lines ringing with Rob's vocal at the end, I think really work. Vicious Circle, or is it Cycle?
Circle.
Thank you. I thought it was solid. It's a driving track. The only time you really hear dual lead guitars, which used to be a Priest staple. That's one thing I miss about the new Priest. The KK and Glenn playing together part. I mean, to me, that's an important part of Judas Priest. So while I like these albums, they're missing that, and that's why they'll never resonate with me like the early albums did. It's still a solid track. The Lodger was one I was not a fan of early on, but this one has grown on me. And again, it does have this early, has more like a rock and roll, a Sad Wings feel to me. And I think this is a very strong track. Now, rating it, it's kind of hard because when we did our show, I said this is their most consistent since Painkiller. I didn't want to say it was their best since Painkiller because in my brain, I'm wrestling. Is it better than Firepower? After listening to these albums so much in the last few weeks, I'm going to give this the slight edge over Firepower, and I'm going to give it an 8.5. Thanks.
All right. Right. Okay. So this is how I look at this. This is how I look at Invincible Shield. To me, third time's a charm with Faulkner. Redeemer was the beginning. Decent album. Yeah, you only had maybe a couple of tracks that like really stood out as like we were saying, the classic tracks. You know, it had some good stuff, but it just didn't have, there was something missing. Firepower to me felt very much the same. The way it was sequenced was almost practically the same style. You have all these bangers, you get some slower mid tempos, you get some bangers, you get some mid. It was basically the same kind of thing. Whatever they did with this, they got it right. They nailed it. They nailed it right on the head. I will say I like this better. This is, of the three last ones with Richie, this one's my favorite by far.
I agree.
I still have yet to find the classic track on Firepower. I still haven't gotten there yet with that one. But this one, for me, I mean, there's a number of for me that stand out to me. Of course, we've already mentioned Panic Attack with its Tom Sawyer intro and some of the throwbacks to Turbo and that kind of feel, and you know, like Davey said, the Iron Maiden kind of Somewhere in Time, Seventh Son kind of feel with the way they did the synthesizers. You know, there's certainly that feel to it, but then after that all kicks in, that you get that crunching heavy riff where we're basically just talking about how social media and just basically the over connection of the way our world has gotten. You know, everything's at a touch of a button, and it's just everything is just too much information here. But you do get a driving track with that frenzied chorus of the Panic Attack, which I think on the first impression show I mentioned, one of the things I mentioned was it was like Priest heard how all of the bands that they supposedly influenced, then they were like, okay, boys, here's how we would do it.
Right.
And so because to me, I heard Rob singing that Panic Attack, and it reminded me of a Striper song called Take It to the Cross, where Michael Sweet sings it this, take it to the cross, take it to the cross, take it to the cross. But he sings it in this really high, almost kind of sounds a little like Rob. And Michael will tell you that Judas Priest is probably one of his favorite bands. It probably was a big influence on him, as well as Van Halen. But Priest was a really big influence on Michael Sweet. So you kind of get that feel from that. But yeah, to me, an absolute banger, basically of another Ritchie show, because again, you don't really get a whole lot of Glenn here as far as the playing goes. Serpent and the King, banger number 2, just comes right at you, keeps coming at you. Again, very much a Revelations like imagery with the whole good and evil, starting all the way back in Genesis, when God said, you're gonna stomp on his head and bruise your heel, all the way to the end of the book of Revelations. You get all this good and evil imagery here. So you have that all throughout the song. To me, this is how I interpreted it. Invincible Shield, banger number 3, another great song. At the epic song, like Davey said, almost a 7-minute long. Basically just trying to get you to arm yourself in this crazy world, kind of referencing back to the Panic Attack, where you're just being overwhelmed with information. And basically, how do you arm yourself in such a crazy world? You go at it with this confident and unrelenting vocal that Rob produces in this song, because that is where he was at. There's a confidence and an unrelenting force in his vocal in this song. You do get like an Iron Maiden like ending with that twin harmony sound. Doesn't sound like a Priest twin harmony. Sounded more like a Maiden thing to me. Let's see. Devil in Disguise. Now we get to slow down just a little bit. To me, it's just how evil likes to take its form. It can be the little Girl Scout trying to sell you her cookies, or it could be the guy at the record store and he's pulled out a huge lot of metal records for you to buy, and like, oh gosh, I need this like I need a hole in the head. But it's just how evil just likes to disguise himself. You have these nice, slow, groovier tempos. That song's been growing on me a lot. Gates of Hell. I was reading about this one. This is how Rob describes this one. This was kind of a little love song to the PMRC and to all the people who were outside their venues back in the day, waving "This is Devil's music." And so that's kind of how Rob described it. And it's like, he's like, the metal community is a wonderful group of people. We're not trying to take them to hell. If you listen to a lot of these lyrics, quite probably the opposite. But there's so many people out there who think that this is the devil's music, and it's really not quite that way. So, but again, Gates of Hell, another wonderful track. I would love to hear this one live. I think it would sound really cool, and I would be right next to John doing the clapping and all the other stuff. Crown of Horns. First off, in the intro to this, I made mention of this in the first impression. Where, Davey, where have you heard that one little part that goes do 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 do? Where have you heard that before?
He's a New Yorker too.
I'll sing it for you. Waiting so long,
Oh, Eddie
waiting
Money.
so long. It's
Two,
it's
two
like that.
tickets to
It's that
paradise.
line. It's that waiting so long line in Two Tickets to Paradise. At least it's the vocal line. I mean, it. I'm sure Richie was just having some fun with that, and I'm sure that's not where he got it from. But boy, that's sure as heck what it sounded like to me. But anyway, I was listening to this earlier, and for some reason, the lyrics just kind of like really earwormed in my ear today for some reason. And I'm listening to this. I learned the hard way that what you dream for comes from the pain you hold inside. I'm on a long road. There is no answer. You have to hold the love you find. I'd wait so helpless, but love is waiting, just like an angel in the dark. And all of a sudden, I had to pause to think because I had tears in my eyes because I'm thinking, first off, I'm sure some of this is he's talking about being on the road. I'm sure some of that is where this is coming from. You're living that dream of being the band and doing music and being and performing in front of people, but there's also something there that he's found that maybe he found in the piece of his sobriety. Almost coming up on almost 40 years now. It's been 38 years. And then I start hearing the heavy is the crown of horns that rests upon his head. Heavy is the crown of horns from all the blood he shed. And, I know where a lot of people will think this is, he's singing about Jesus here. And that could very well be. I've heard Rob is prays a lot before he goes on stage. That's a ritual for him. Anyway, not to be preachy, but I just feel like there's a definite spiritual connection in this song, and I really just couldn't help but just feel that as I was listening to that song. Probably my favorite song on this album. I absolutely loved it on my first impression, and I still love this song. It's just the one that's stuck so much in my head. God is my witness. Again, you here we go. Crank that tempo back up again. That lone warrior who's will fight, and it's like Davey going up against Goliath. David going up against Goliath. Not Davey and Goliath. No, but Davey. Uh, anyway, but David, David, and he's going up against Goliath. But this guy's he's got an army to face, and as God is his witness, he will fight until the very end. Again, just a strong banger of a track. Trial by Fire. Here again, another strong song about kind of being in prison for no crime, and just all the torture that goes through one's mind. As it's just a very slow building tempo song, but man, it's such a moody opening. I liked it. It's another grower of a song. Escape from Reality, another slower song. And wow, did I actually hear bass? Menacing at times, always that desire to turn back the time, the hands of time, and try to see those incidents in our lives to say, what could I have done differently here? I feel like we've always heard that from Rob. Again, I think a little bit more Tipton driven here with some of the riffs and maybe even some of the lyrics. Sons of Thunder, again, this could be akin to Hellbent for Leather and some of the other motorcycle songs. Uh, Basic, like John said, short and to the point, comes in, kicks your rear end, leaves out the door. Giants in the Sky. Yeah, tribute to the fallen heroes, tribute to loved ones. Very interesting. Like I said, that acoustic mid section in the middle there. Um, interesting the way to end a proper album. Maybe not as good as some of the others, but still a decent song. Okay, I liked it. It was one that stuck in my head. So now we go to the bonus tracks. The Fight of Your Life, another song about that indomitable spirit. They sing so many songs about that. And then you get a little God of Thunder kind of feel in this song. Just saying, in like the bridge solo section.
Yeah.
I was hearing a little God of Thunder kind of going on there. Still not a bad song. Not it wasn't one that's been sticking in my head, but it's good. Vicious Circle, again, all these things that just keeps going round and round. Another Tipton driven song, not a bad song. Again, doesn't stick in my head that much. The Lodger, of course, written by Bob Halligan Jr. Very moody, a much slower, very vengeful track here. Could make for a very interesting movie. I don't know. I think it could maybe make something out of that. I like the story behind that. I think it's kind of cool. So, the more I've been listening to this, yeah, I like this more than I like Firepower. I'm probably going to go with at least yeah, I'm probably going to give this up to about a 9.5 actually. So that's how much I have come to really like Invincible Shield. So so there you go. So wow, that's the last of the studio albums that we are going to be doing. Now I am going to preface next week, we're going to be looking at live 98 Live Meltdown. So I know there's a lot of you all out there who have been saying, but, 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 but the series is called The Year of the Priest and you're coming to an end. Well, we only meant to do this discography. We didn't mean to. I mean, it was a bad title, bad way to choose the name of the series, but it just seemed like it worked for what we were doing it with. So that's kind of why I stuck with it. It had a good ring to it, but yeah, as we have said, if we had decided to do KK's Priests and Halford's and Glenn's and any others and Al Atkins's album and all the other live things, yeah, we probably would be in this until at least October or November. And somebody even suggested in the comments, you should get Peter Jones and he can do a show on ranking the drummers of Priest.
Yeah.
But we decided, no, we really just wanted to stick with the discography, the main discography, and that's what we were going to do. And that Invincible Shield has come to an end, which brings us to the end of it. So, so John, the tour part's going to be the easiest part on this one for this show because they just ended the first leg of the tour. So have at it. Let's hear some tour stuff.
All right, thank you. So they've done 37 dates so far. They did 16 in Europe and they did 21 in the States. When they started the tour, they called it the Metal Masters Tour, and for good reason, because the opening bands were Saxon and Uriah Heep, who John and I got to see about 3.5 weeks ago at Penn's Peak in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. That's right. And I know Jack Toledano's seen them recently as well. So
yes, he did.
But they started a tour in Glasgow, Scotland on March 11th. And they played Leeds, England, Dublin, Ireland. Oh, and before we go into that, just to say, yes, Saxon Uriah Heep opened the Europe dates. Sabaton opened the US dates. They played Dublin, Ireland, Bournemouth, England, Birmingham, England, London, England, Frankfurt, Germany, Munich, Germany, Dortmund, Germany, Prague, Czechia, Krakow, Poland. Ivan Putski was booked from Krakow, Poland. Polish power!
Love Ivan
Vienna,
Putski.
Austria. Muckenstein, Switzerland. Lyon, France. Asago, Italy. By Asago, Italy, that is when they actually got the proper set list together because they were playing around with the songs on the set list. And I'll go into that after I read the dates here. Paris, France was the last state they did in Europe. And in April 18, they started in the States and they opened at the Oakdale Theater in Wallingford, Connecticut. Then they played Newark, New Jersey. They played Santander Arena in Reading, Pennsylvania. That was the show I was at. They played Bangor, Maine, Boston, Massachusetts, Youngstown, Ohio. They played Indianapolis, Indiana, Rosemont Theater in Rosemont, Illinois, where Joe B has seen many shows, but he did not see this show. Minneapolis, Minnesota, Kalamazoo, Michigan, Maryland Heights, Missouri, Prots Arena, Huntsville, Alabama. That's the show that Joe B was at.
And my wrestling buddy Karen and her son.
There you go. They played Rockville and Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida. They played Ameris Bank Amphitheater in Alpharetta, Georgia, where Chase and his fantastic wife got to see them.
Yes.
If you want more about that show and how that went down, go into our archives on this series. They played Mobile, Alabama, Charlotte, North Carolina. They played Sonic Temple 2024 at historic Crew Stadium in Columbus, Ohio. I love to do these. I'm only going to do one festival here. Also on the bill, and there's a ton of bands on this bill, but I'll give you the most well-known. Nita Strauss, who plays guitar for Alice Cooper, Drowning Pool, POD, Theory of a Dead Man, The Ghost Inside, Mudvayne, Kerry King from Slayer, Electric Callboy, Evanescence, Cypress Hill, breaking up Cypress Hill, Disturbed, and Machine Head. They also played Evansville, Indiana, National Harbor, Maryland, Albany, New York, their last date of the tour. So far, May 22nd, 2024, the Empower Federal Credit Union Amphitheater at Lakeview in Syracuse, New York. Now, on the tour, they played Panic Attack on the first couple. I'm sorry. Panic Attack has been the opening song on the tour, all 37 dates. They played Trial by Fire at the first few shows. Now they've been sticking with Panic Attack, Invincible Shield, and Crown of Horns. They did some other songs on the tour that they played around with to see if they worked. They played Sword of Damocles from Redeemer of Souls for 5 dates. And those were the first 5 dates they ever played that song. They brought back You Don't Have to Be Old to Be Wise from the British Steel album. First time since 2009. They've been playing Love Bites on this tour. First since 2015, they've been playing that. And later on the tour, they brought back Devil's Child, the last song on Screaming for Vengeance. So there you go.
And did you find the second song on the set to be quite interesting?
The second
song on the set.
I've seen them play You Got Another Thing Coming early before, so it didn't surprise me.
It surprised the heck out of Chase.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they played that pretty early during the 50 Heavy Metal Years tour too. So them playing that second didn't because I've seen them do it pretty early before.
Okay.
It used to be like one of the encore songs, but they moved it up.
Yeah. Yeah. And for him, he said seeing Painkiller live was just mind blowing for him. So he had a very good time, as he was telling me. So
and one thing about that song is live, that has that's become a Priest classic. That's the set closer now.
Mm-hmm.
Because you would think they would close a set with something like Living After Midnight, or You Got Another Thing Coming, or Breaking Law, or Metal Gods, songs that are considered their classics. Painkiller's become a classic.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to end a set now, and then go into that 3 or 4 song encore. Or Hellbent for Leather, I think they used to close with that too.
Right.
But they do. You Got Everything Coming second. Breaking Law, they've done early for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. You get rid of one of the overplayed hits early in the set, and then you need Rob probably needs a breather after Painkiller because he's just singing up there in the stratosphere.
Exactly.
It's a good time to take a break for 5 minutes before the encore.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. But just the way when I would look at that set, I'm like, oh my gosh, what a set. I'm like, I don't think I could put a dream set list together. That's why we decided not to do a dream set list show, because wow, I think I just saw it there on that particular one there. But I still would love to see something from, say, Rock and Roll. I would, if they pulled something back from that again, I would be okay with that. But
or Point of Entry.
Or Point of Entry, or Bloodstone, or something like that. I would certainly be okay with that. But
but they've never done any anniversary tours where they just focus and play one album and then other stuff, right?
They
I
did
thought
with British Steel.
British Steel, yeah.
Oh, British Steel. Okay,
They
yeah,
did
that's
the
right.
30th.
The
They did the
live
30th.
but they
Yeah.
only did it with one album. A lot of other bands do it with multiple albums. And with this catalog, they could do it.
Oh,
They
they
can go
easily
out
could.
there and do all of Screaming or whatever. I'd like to see Sad Wings start to finish, but you're not going to see that.
Well, and I think the reason they can't do it is because they don't have the twin guitars. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, Andy could do it maybe, but he certainly couldn't do it with the precision and maybe the accuracy of either a Glenn or KK. So, you know, they basically having to pick stuff that one person can carry, and Richie's carrying a good chunk of it. So yeah, I think this is where I say I wish they could just kiss and make up with KK, bring him back in. I realize KK is going to want a big check for it, but because he's referenced that, but you know, it's just if you could bring KK back into it, keep Richie, keep Andy, leave it a 3 guitar thing, but
Maiden does it.
But here's why I say, if you play a song like Love Bites, when you listen to it, say back on the Turbo or the Priest Live album, it's like when they start the guitar harmonies, everything drops out. There's no beef to the song.
Right.
And you need that beef if you're going to bring it in live unless you're going to put like pre-recorded tracks in there. So why not have another guitar player, bring them in, and Andy can play the extra bass or guitar for it and boost that, give it that boost, you know, and I'm sure that's all there's other songs you can mention that with, but anyway,
yes.
I don't think it's like Skid Row getting Sebastian Bach in the band. I don't think it ain't gonna happen. I just don't think it's ever gonna happen. I think the bridges have been obliterated, you know, between KK and Priest, and that's too bad, but it is what it is. We have KK and Ripper doing their thing, in KK's Priest. You know, we're getting to hear a little bit of Priest songs in those sets, so we'll see what that tour looks like. I'm planning on flying back to Pennsylvania for that show, and it hits Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania at the Sherman Theater. So with Accept in September. So so John and I'll get to hang out again, which
for the second time.
Which he might want to turn and run away. I don't know, but anyway, Davey, what kind of things can we? What other than plug your channel? What kind of things are you got coming up, or what else are you getting involved on?
Well, my channel, Cretan Classics, I don't have that much content up, and I think I celebrated my 6-month anniversary recently without even realizing it.
All right.
I don't have that much content, but I do have appearances on other channels, and I have more appearances on other channels than I do on my own channel. So I have to fix that ratio and right that wrong. But I'm still taping a lot of videos. Besides you guys, I'm taping 3 other videos this week. Wow. One with our friend Bicycle Legs from Australia. I've been on his channel a lot, and I do a lot of work with some nice guys upstate in Albany, in Buffalo. I call them the Buffalo Boys. The channel is Rock Show Critique. I do a lot of work with them, filming a video with them tomorrow. And then I am making my debut appearance on Scott Lade's The Prog Corner this weekend.
Nice.
So Sunday I'm going to be filming with them, all about my first true love, progressive rock. So I'll be with them, and I'm planning on doing, hopefully in the next few days, my own ranking of the Blue Oyster Cult catalog that I've been working on for a while now. So one of my favorite bands from New York. And I was even on Grant's Rock Warehouse recently with our buddy Grant, and we did a ranking of the Ramones albums.
That's right.
So I got a lot of stuff out there, not just on my channel, but my other appearances are plentiful and bountiful.
I
know you can find it on my channel. And thank you for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. I know Matt Thompson from the Patreon guys. I know he'll be wanting to tune into that Blue Oyster Cult ranking. He's a huge Blue Oyster Cult guy. So big fan of him, of them. So I know he'll want to tune into it. So
I have a bunch of my CDs right here.
Oh gosh, yeah,
There
he's
you
ready.
go.
He's ready for it. He's
And
ready
some
for
of the
it.
others are in my car. So
All right, John, what else have you got down the pike that we don't know about?
You pretty much know.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I
I'm
don't
doing
think.
stuff with you, and I'm doing stuff with Grant.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's
That's
pretty
pretty
much
much
it.
it right now.
Yeah, yeah. I think you can now see me on a quick cameo on a, Motley Crue video that Rock Daydream Nation did
I
on
saw that.
Can We Defend Theater of Pain from Motley Crue? No, because John, because that's John and I actually were at the show at a Theater of Pain show together. We weren't together obviously, but we were at the same show back in August 13th, 1985 in Allentown, Pennsylvania, at the Allentown Fairgrounds, with Loudness opening up, and Loudness absolutely wiped the stage with Motley Crue.
That's right.
Thank you very much. Yeah, from what I've been watched of that video, nobody has been very overly kind to that album yet. So let me see what else. I'm going to be recording something with Mike Ladano coming up this week on the Grab a Stack of Rock. The subject there is going to be our top favorite 5 albums by bands after they took a long break. So bands that maybe took like 5+ years or so in between albums is essentially what that's going to be. So it's going to be me and Mike and our good buddy Metal Roger from my North and South Rock and Metal Connection. You can go to Mike Ladano's Grab a Stack of Rock tpublic.com page, and they actually made a t-shirt for Metal Roger. It's the funniest thing you'd ever seen. They Lego-fied him. So that's kind of fun. But anyway, so there you go.
If I could just say one more thing, John, the
Go for it.
Music Nut, and I are going to be doing a show together next month with Grant on Grant's Rock Warehouse, but we're not going to reveal who it's about yet.
That's right.
But we're doing a show together.
Oh, okay.
So I look forward to that.
All right.
I do as well.
All right. Rock and roll. Well, that's what we do. We like to plug a bunch of people's channels because we're all in this community together. We're on each other's channels a lot, and we just try to plug them where we can because we've all become good friends, through Zoom, even though the only one I've ever met in person has been John and Nick Esquire. So but we've all come to have good rapport with each other, and so that's been a good thing. So we
Definitely,
for all the people who are in the live chat, if you all are still with us, thank you. As I last looked, I'm almost up to 500 subscribers, which I'm like, how in the world is that happening? I don't know. But anyway, you live chat people are going nuts in there, and I love you all for doing it. Thank you very much. For those who keep watching, hey, keep hitting that subscribe button, share, subscribe, you do whatever. Please check out Davey's channel. Give his channel some love. Especially check out the Chobani. Please tell me I'm speaking this right. The
Chobani
Creations of the yogurt.
Dessert
yogurt. Yes.
I did a yogurt ranking.
Yes. So you just never know what you're going to get a ranking of on any of our channels.
It's actually a great show.
It's a wonderful show. Wonderful show. It makes me want to go out and get some, actually.
They're really good.
They were all your number one, I think, was especially the one I was going to go for. But anyway, so yeah, and I always link everybody else's channel between Grant, Tim Durling, Ryan's Vinyl Destinations, Bicycle Legs, Rock Daydream Nations, Contrarians, Darcy 639 Lives I mentioned. I said Bicycle Legs, Rock and Metal Invasion, Steve Deluxe's channel, Grab a Stack of Rock,
Darcy Ska.
We can't forget about Darcy Ska. He's another good one out there. He and I did a video together on why I love Christian rock, Christian metal. So that was a fun show to do. Lots of channels out there, lots of people to give a lot of love to, lots of great content. So,
and Tim, if excuse me for one second, and Tim Durling on his channel, he just started a Kansas deep dive, and I'm very psyched for that.
Yes,
the first episode was really good, and I look forward to his future episodes.
I need to check that out. I hadn't watched the first one yet, but
big Kansas guy over here.
That's yeah. I should be a bigger Kansas fan because I pretty much stopped about where Steve Walsh left the band originally. I never really picked up anything after probably Audio Visions and so forth. I just never took time to listen to it.
And
So
Kerry, you know, when he was a born again Christian, he did a lot of Christian rock type music. So
Yeah,
I think you find a lot of interesting stuff there, John.
I like the AD song, the AD albums, especially he's Dio's on a couple songs, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
So
that's on Kerry's solo album.
yeah.
Seeds of Change.
So there you go. All kinds of great stuff. Again, next week we're going to have a few people on. We're going to be talking 98 live metal live meltdown. This is the one with Ripper. We get to this one was by special request. We had a bunch of people saying, "Oh, you guys got to do that one. You got to do that." And then everybody goes like, "Oh, you got to do this one. And you got to do this." I was like, "No, I cut it off. This is one." Anyway, so for Davey Cretin of Cretin Classics, from my good friend John the Music Nut, John Clauser, Johnny Metal, the Metal's Ass saying, rock forever. We'll see you soon for the Year of the Priest. We will take care. We'll see you soon. See you, everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.